Hello, this is the notes for the elimination method part 2. Last time we had the class, I introduced the elimination method. If you remember right, when we first did these, we always looked for the variable that had the same number in front of each of them, but with opposite signs. But sometimes they don't give us the equations with the same numbers. So what we need to do is we are going to multiply one or both equations, use multiplication to create them. So if we look at this first example here, I see that the x's have 3 and 2. And the y's have -6 and 4. It doesn't matter which variable you choose to get rid of. I usually just try finding the one that seems like it'd be easier. I'm going to choose to get rid of the x's just because they're currently smaller numbers. Basically, we need to think of what is the least common multiple, so we call that the LCM, of 3 and 2. So multiples of 3 are 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 9, 12, etc. Multiples of 2, those are the even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8. Well, the smallest number that they both have in common is 6. If you can't think of the least common multiple, one of the multiples that you can use is just multiplying the two numbers together, which is the least common multiple in this case. So I'm going to multiply everything in the top equation by 2, because 2 times 3 will give me 6x. And I'm going to multiply everything in the bottom equation by a -3, because I want them to have opposite signs. And right now they're both positive, so I'm going to make one of them negative. So we're going to multiply every single thing in the equation, top equation, by 2. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times -6 is -12y. Even the number on the other side of the equal sign, so 2 times -3 is -6. We're going to multiply everything in the bottom equation by -3. So that's going to be -6x. -3 times 4 is going to be -12y. And -3 times 30 is going to be -90. Now we're ready to use the elimination method. Remember, we just add vertically. 6x plus -6x is 0. It'll cancel out, so I don't have to worry about it. -12y plus -12y is -24y, equals -6 plus -90 is -96. Our last step is going to be to divide both equations by -24. Y equals +4. Now we're not done. Remember, when we find one of the answers in elimination method, we always have to plug it back into either equation, doesn't matter which one, to find the x value. So I'm going to just choose to do the bottom equation, so 2x plus 4 times 4, because my y is equal to 4, I'm going to replace y with 4, equals 30. 4 times 4 is 16, equals 30. I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. I end up with 2x is equal to 30 minus 16 is 14. Divide both sides by 2, x equals 7. So for this first one, my ordered pair is 7, 4. If I'm writing these tricks over here, the multiply the first equation by 2, and we multiply the second equation by -3. And then we went ahead and added because I changed the signs. Now let's try the second one on that page. So again, we want them to have the same exact number in front of them. I noticed that this y doesn't have a number. That means all I would have to do is multiply the top equation by whatever number the y has in the bottom, which is 4. Since the y is positive in the bottom, I'm going to multiply the top by a negative 4. That way I'll have opposite signs. By choosing this, I'm actually not going to have to multiply the second equation at all. So sometimes you will only have to multiply one equation to get them to have the same number. And since I'm going to be multiplying by a negative to get opposite signs, I'm going to be able to add. So this will give me negative 4 times 2x is negative 8x. Negative 4 times y is negative 4y. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. And then I'm just going to rewrite the second equation. I didn't have to multiply it by anything. Now we're ready to add them together. Negative 8x plus negative 5x is negative 13x. Negative 4y plus 4y will cancel out. That'll leave me with negative 16 plus negative 23. That'll give me negative 39. We always divide by the number that's right beside the variable. And x equals positive 3. Now we can plug x equals 3 into either of the equations. I'm going to choose the top one, so 2x. Oh, sorry, we got to replace x. So 2 times x is 3 plus y equals 4. 2 times 3 is 6 plus y equals 4. Get rid of 6 on both sides by subtracting. Y equals negative 2. So my ordered pair would be 3, negative 2. This is where the two equations would cross if we graph them. All right, now let's look at these three different systems of equations and just determine what we could multiply them by. As I said before, you can cancel out the x's or y's, so there's actually a couple different choices you have. So for the first one, I would just try getting rid of the x's because that one looks a little bit smaller, but again, you could choose the y's. I'm going to multiply the top equation by 7. And then, because 7 times 3 is 21, and then I would multiply the bottom equation by negative 3. And that will cancel out there. I chose a negative 3, that way they'd have opposite signs, because I'm going to have a 21x on top, and then I'll have a negative 21x on the bottom. For the second system of equations, I see here where y is by itself. So I'm just going to multiply everything in the top equation by 4, because then I'll have 4y on top and negative 4y on the bottom. And then I don't have to multiply both equations, just the top one. Similarly, over here with x, I have just x by itself, and here a negative 8x. So if I multiply the top equation by 8, I'll have 8x on the top and negative 8x on the bottom, and they would cancel out. All right, let's actually try another one of these. So I'm going to choose to cancel out my x's, so I want them to have the same number. So if we just multiply those numbers together, 3 times 4. So we're going to multiply the top one by 4. And since they're both positive, I'm going to choose to make the bottom one a negative 3. That way I can add them together. 4 times 3x is 12x. 4 times 2y is 8y. It's positive 8y. 4 times negative 26 is negative 104. And then I'm going to multiply the bottom one by negative 3. So that would be negative 3 times 4 is a negative 12x. Negative 3 times negative 5 is a positive 15y. And negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12. We're then going to combine these together. Negative 12x plus, 12x plus negative 12x cancel out. And then 8 plus 15y is 23y. Negative 104 plus 12 is negative 92. We always divide by the number by the variable. Y equals negative 4. We then have to plug it back into either equation. I'm going to choose the bottom one, just because the numbers are a little bit smaller in that one. 4x minus 5 times negative 4 equals negative 4. I switched out the y for our negative 4 that we found. Negative 5 times negative 4 is positive 20 equals negative 4. We're going to subtract 20 from both sides. 4x equals negative 24. Divide by 4. X equals negative 6. So my solution would be negative 6 comma negative 4. The one on the right is a little bit easier because y does not have a number in front of it. It technically has a 1. So all we have to do is multiply everything in this bottom equation by the number that y has on top, so by 4. I'm going to make it a positive 4 because top is already a negative. I'm going to rewrite the top equation exactly how it is. And I'm going to multiply just the bottom equation by 4. So 4 times 2x is 8x. 4 times y is a positive 4y. And 4 times 3 is 12. Negative 4x plus 8x is positive 4x. Negative 4y plus 4y cancels out. And we're left with negative 8 plus 12 is positive 4. When I divide both sides by 4, I'm going to get x equals 1. I'm going to plug that back into either equation. I just choose the one that looks easier, so I'm going to go with the bottom one. 2 times 1 plus y equals 3. 2 times 1 is 2 plus y equals 3. And I subtract 2 to get y by itself. Y equals 1. So my answer is 1, 1. Go ahead and switch over to your elimination and multiplication assignment. I'm going to do the first 3 with you. So for number 1, we want to figure out what number to multiply both equations by in order for them to have the same number. Now, I'm going to choose to get rid of y's just because 2 and 3 are smaller than 5 and 3, but you could have chosen x's. So to get, we want them to have the same number. So we're going to multiply 2 times 3 to get 6, and 3 times, I'm going to choose negative 2 to make it negative 6. Remember, we like opposite signs. So top, we're going to multiply by 3. The bottom, we're going to multiply by negative 2. 3 times 5x is 15x. 3 times 2y is 6y. And 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Now the bottom, negative 2 times 3 is negative 6x. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6y. And negative 2 times 9 is negative 18. Now we are ready to combine them by adding 15x plus negative 6x is 9x. 6y plus negative 6y cancels out, which equals negative 9 minus 18 is negative 27. We always divide by the number that's next to the variable. X equals negative 3. To figure out y, you can plug it into either equation. I usually just choose the one that looks easier. So I'm going to go with the bottom one. So 3, switch out the x for negative 3, plus 3y equals 9. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, plus 3y equals 9. We want to get y by itself, so I'm going to add 9 to both sides. 3y equals 18. In order to get rid of 3, we're going to divide by it. Y equals 6. So my solution is negative 3 comma 6. All right, let's take a look at number 2. Again, you could choose to get rid of either variable. I'm going to choose to go with the x's again this time. Because they're 2 and 3, they're smaller. So I'm going to multiply everything in the top by 3, because 3 times 2 will give me 6x. And I'm going to multiply everything in the bottom by negative 2, because remember, I like that those opposite signs, so we can just add. So on the top, 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times 3y is 9y, positive 9y. 3 times 14 is 42. Now the bottom, negative 2 times 3 is negative 6x. Negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8y. And negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Now we're ready to add them together. 6x plus negative 6x is, they cancel out, so 0 there. 9y plus 8y is 17y. And 42 minus 8 is 34. To get rid of the number next to the variable, we divide. So y equals 2. 34 divided by 17 is 2. We're going to plug in that y equals 2 into either of the other equations. I'm going to choose the top one this time. So 2x plus 3 times 2 instead of y equals 14. 3 times 2 is 6. To get rid of a plus 6, we're going to do the opposite. So we're going to subtract 6. 2x equals 8. To get rid of the number next to the variable, we always divide. And x equals 4. So the solution to number 2 is 4, 2. Last example that I'm going to do with you is number 3. I'm going to choose, they're both pretty similar, x's and y's. This time I'm just going to go with x's because they already have opposite signs, so I won't have to worry about multiplying by a negative. So I'm going to multiply the top by 5 and the bottom one by 2. So then these will both be 10s. You could have chosen to instead get rid of the y's by multiplying the top by 4 and the bottom by negative 3. You're going to get the exact same answer. So whichever one you want to do. 5 times 2x is 10x. 5 times 3 is 15y. 5 times negative 26 is negative 130. 2 times negative 5x is negative 10x. 2 times 4y is 8y. And 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Time to add both equations together. 10x plus negative 10x cancels out. 15y plus 8y is 23y. Equals negative 30 plus negative 8 is negative 138. Divide both sides by 23. Y equals negative 138 divided by 23 is negative 6. I'm then going to plug negative 6 back into either of the other equations. Again, choose whichever one looks easier to you. You'll get the same answer from both of them. I'm going to choose the bottom one because I don't have to worry about that negative 26. So negative 5x plus 4 times the negative 6 equals negative 4. We're going to take 4 times negative 6, which give us negative 24 equals negative 4. Get rid of a minus 24. I'm going to have to add 24 to both sides. Negative 5x equals negative 4 plus 24 will give me 20. My last step is always divide by the number with the variable. X equals negative 4. So my solution to this one is negative 4, negative 6. All right, please finish the rest of your assignment and try your best. Have a good day. P.S. So sorry for all the noise from the bearded dragon Saphira and the cats.